Hi, we're here with my dear friend Ezra Dweck from IceCap. I've known Ezra for a long time now. He's actually much older than he looks, and I'm very interested in hearing about your face cream and how you keep looking so young.
It's metformin, NMN, resveratrol, and I think it's like vitamin D. Those are the
But
things.
this is everybody's listed. This is good stuff, guys.
That's
good
what
stuff.
I take a few hundred like 1,000 milligrams of resveratrol every day. The metformin, which is
Tell everybody how old you are.
I'm 47, turning 48 in 2 months.
48. He looks like a baby. All right, let's get to business.
And it's also like the extra pills for the hair, the minoxidil pills. It's
pills.
off-label minoxidil pills, and
It's coming back nicely.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do to keep it so dark? What medicine is that?
it's probably like the low stress environment that I live in the lending space.
All right, let's talk about the lending space. You guys are excellent at what you do. You've grown a lot as a company. What are you focused on today in terms of product and borrower?
So we're focused on places where the institutional players aren't playing or where there is a true conduit market. So it's kind of both ends of the spectrum. So we look at it and say, okay, there's kind of like this barbell structure where we have our own money that we can do loans that we really like and that maybe others don't like as much or they don't have the patience to wrap their heads around, and we'll put out a few $100 million of that. And then we have a big effort in technology where we're bringing in as much as we can of loans that are what we call conduit loans, meaning loans that are really, really easy to sell. So 1 to 4 family rental loans where investors are buying properties and they need a 30-year mortgage to finance those properties, and that the mortgage payments should be funded through the income of the property. So those barbell, and that's something that we originate as much as we can and then sell that off. So those really are the two areas where we play a lot. And we are mostly focused in the Northeast, but open to the whole country.
Okay, so you're doing these deals. You have your balance sheet loans, we'll call them. You have your conduit loans. Those are underwritten out of different groups?
So everything funnels up to the same area, but we have different underwriters that are
looking at
yeah,
different
so
company names?
We have different company names. So we have a wholesale division that's called Bluefin.
Okay.
So that they deal less with our underwriting staff. And then internally, the loans that come in that are more of our multifamily loans, those are going into our through the full underwriting process.
So
with the proctological exam.
give me how important it is to know the borrower before versus the property. Like how much is how? Because we had Kevin Warder here from Renovo and Alexis before that, and both said getting to know the borrower was really, really important to them.
Right.
How about you guys?
So I think that knowing your borrower, I'll say it depends on which states you're playing in. So if you're playing in red states where you have fast access to the property, you're like, okay, we really believe in the property, and if the borrower trips up, we can get access to it quickly. You still want to know the borrower. You want to make sure that he's gonna succeed. But in the blue states where it's going to take you years to get to that property, you want to make sure that no matter how good of a plan you have, that borrower is able to implement that plan. So we're really digging in a lot into the borrower, like looking at local court records everywhere that they've transacted, looking at the people, their spouses, their people in their surroundings, looking at every entity they've ever touched, looking at their liquidity, their credit, their history of performing on similar loans. So it's a good guy, fine, but has he done projects like this before? And when you get into more and more complicated projects, there's going to need hand-holding. And if there's a bump in the road, you want someone who's A, going to have the wherewithal to right the ship with you, and B, have the motivation and like the character of working with you in a way that's accretive to everyone.
So it's funny, the old, a couple of years ago, it used to be, I'll make the loan, there's value in the property, I'll be okay. You remember those names.
I remember
There's
those
plenty
names, right?
equity.
Yeah.
Well, the best thing, I'll be able to take it over.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the problem is you have to take it over.
If after 4 years of default interest, there's no more equity.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
Yeah.
And I think that theory has changed. I think that's the maturation of the space.
Yeah, for sure.
People are looking at, you're a lender, you don't want to own the property, you want your interest back, and the way to deliver that is on capable borrowers.
Yes. And I think that's also the shift of originator to lender, right? So when you had note buyers who were just buying up everything, the relationship wasn't there. But now as more people are lenders, where they're actually lending their own capital, sometimes they sell, but it's their own capital, they need to know the borrower. They need to know that when things get a little bit rough, we're in this together.
Who runs capital markets for you guys?
So we have Steven Schwartz, he's our head of capital markets, David Jacobs, our head of credit.
Yep.
And they both have good teams underneath them, and they're doing a good job.
You like what you do?
I love what I do. I have my dream job.
That's awesome.
I have my dream job.
Congratulations.
First of all, I make more money than I had ever hoped to make.
Okay.
Not as much as I'd like to make right now, but more than I ever hoped to make. And I have a little bit of attention deficit disorder, as you can probably tell by this interview. A little bit. And for me, just the velocity of how many deals I get to touch and how many people I get to speak to, and like figuring out problems on a granular level every day, something new. I love it.
You enjoy it.
I love it.
That's amazing. I'm happy for you. And where does ICE go from here?
Where does ICE go from here? So more and more internal capital we control. We'd like to get to about $500 million of bridge money that we can recycle and hold internally, and $1 billion of term money that we can recycle that we control. And I think for us, it's still the slow and steady growth, keeping credit tight, and working with only the best people.
How's your experience been at the NPLA conference so far?
NPLA is far and away the best conference in our space.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
First of all, having a thought leader like you here and a friend to me is invaluable. The people that I've met over the years at this conference have really built my career and my company.
Yep.
My relationship with you has built my career and my company. And as the industry changes, this is the place to be, to stay on top of those changes.
You're seeing it here live.
Yep.
You're hearing people talk
Yep.
about it. We're so glad you're here. I want to get Joey here. He's got to show up at some point.
We'll work on them together.
We'll work on him. And Ezra Dweck, one of the best in the business.